One of them that I found, I don't have the books. I'd be interested in reading them. But one of them that I found from Arkansas was a girl in 1946. She was 6 years old, and she went missing in Devil's Den.
Okay.
Like Devil's Den State Park.
Right.
That's in part of the Ozark National Forest, Ouachita Forest. She was with her siblings playing in a creek and disappeared. My God.
That's
somebody's killing that that puppy back there.
That's our dog. She's mad because we haven't let her out of her crate.
Anyway, they wound up finding her 7 days later, or 6 days later. Yeah, 6 days later, and she was 7 miles as the crow flies from the point she was last seen. 6-year-old girl, and a 600-foot change in elevation. Because I don't know if y'all been up to Devil's Den. Literally, like
So
you're on Interstate 540, and you get off where Devil's Den is, and you're kind of on this plateau, up where Fayetteville and all that is, right? As you're going to Devil's Den, you just start dropping. And so all that land out there is just straight up and down hills, and there's caves and everything else.
So not something that a 6 or 7-year-old girl would be able to navigate
easily.
And it would
We're
be
not talking flat ground through a subdivision.
Several more miles than,
Yeah, exactly. They interviewed, for one of the documentaries, they interviewed Les Stroud, that has the survival show. And he was saying, okay, it's different when you're on flat ground and everything else. That 7 miles is probably more like 15 or 20 or 25 when you look at the terrain you're having to go over.
Was she found alive or dead?
She was actually, and this is interesting, they were doing all their searches for her and everything else. One of them found her. She comes walking out of a cave and says, "Here I am," and acts like nothing's wrong, nothing's out of the ordinary.
That sounds familiar. I think I've heard
Like
that one
she
before.
hadn't been missing for 45 minutes, and just, "Hey, here I am." And said she was fine. No
That's
ill
weird.
effects, no nothing.
And what was her...
Did she say...
Nope. No explanation.
Oh,
Now, granted, this was 1946, so we may not be getting all of the story now.
Yeah,
but that's
people
what
were
was,
like, we can't tell people that.
Yeah, that was
we'll
what
just
was
say
stated.
she doesn't know.
When was the alien crash in Roswell?
1947.
This was a prelude.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you, I think it's aliens. I don't want to say it's aliens, but it's aliens.
But there's a lot of weird ones. That there's the original Missing 411 documentary, and then just this year he's come out with a second one. And what it is, it's called Missing 411: The Hunted, and he actually focuses on hunters that were out in the woods and have gone missing. There's one guy. Some of these can be explained. Okay, the guy was 79 years old. Blah blah blah, or it was a 5-year-old kid. Blah blah blah, not ready to handle the terrain and everything else. I didn't say that. Dumbass.
What did you say?
They're not even human. He's just like an old man or a little kid. Blah blah blah. Like.
Anyway, come on.
I love you.
Anyway, there's one, and it was in Montana. The guy's 38 years old, goes and hunts this location with his buddies all the time. As they were headed up to the lake camping area that they were gonna base out of, they had 2 horses and a mule. The mule got spooked and started slinging all the damn camping gear and everything off. Well, the guy lost most of his stuff. But
maybe he should have been carrying it himself.
Well, he walked in. The other 2 had horses. That's why he wasn't carrying it. He had it all packed on the mule. But this should tell you how often these guys hunted. They actually had caches of stuff.
Oh, nice.
Out in that area. And so they get there. They set up all their
drugs, money.
No. Camping stuff.
Hookers and blow.
No. Anyway, they get all set up, and he's like, "Okay, well, I'm going to run up here to your cache and get what I need and come back down to camp." And they're like, "Okay, cool." So, they kind of knew how long it was going to take him, when to expect him back. They actually interviewed quite a few people involved with this one. The trail going up to that cache is very defined. I mean, you go up and there's a point where you turn and it's real defined, and he should have been back. So they start trying to call him, and they had these Rhino GPS walkie-talkies. So whenever you're talking to somebody, it actually shows their GPS location. Well, it showed his GPS location like half a mile past where that turn would be. There was no reason for him to go there, because he either would have been turning to go up to the cache or coming back and turning to go back to the camp. And they were like, well, that's weird. That's odd. And they never got him to respond. And so they're thinking, okay, well, he's doing something and he'll be back. Well, he never did show up at the camp that night. So the next morning they go start looking for him. They call, and actually they're in a weird spot where it's different county jurisdictions. And so the one where they're actually camped is like the main one, and they tell him, well, you need to call them. And they call them. They get National Guard. They get they got FLIR helicopters.
Right.
And they're doing their search. Well, the other jurisdiction that they had gotten a hold of first said, well, he's missing, and I know where that spot is. So let's come in from this side, just, and let's see if we can kind of block it in. Right. So they were coming from the direction he was last known to be heading based on his GPS reading.
Right.
Never saw him. Never saw anything. Met up with the other guys. They fanned out, spread everywhere. Like a year or two later, somebody finds his boots just sitting there like somebody had not tossed, literally sitting there like somebody had taken them off and set them on the ground.
Wow.
So then, a little more time rocks and rolls on, and somebody finds his backpack and his bow and some other shit leaned up, not scattered, not thrown anywhere, leaned up against a tree. At that point where they found his backpack, you could actually look across the valley and see rooftops. So it's not like he could have been lost. You could see rooftops. There's something there. A little bit later, they go back up and they're doing a little, some people are doing a little, not the full scale, but a little bit of searching. They come across a thermos sitting there with the cap unscrewed and stuff, had like been poured in it, sitting on a rock. And from that point, the closest ranch and family to where he went missing, you could actually see their barns from the rock where that thermos and that lid were found. You could see their barns right there.
So were the boots and thermos and all that like in the same place, in the same area?
Different locations,
way far apart.
Yeah,
were any of those locations where the GPS showed?
No.
That's weird.
And total, where the last thing was found, was 11 miles from the camp.
Wow.
Yeah, and never found any kind of remains of his.
No tracks.
Matter of fact, the next morning when they all came in and started searching, and like the other group came from the other direction, they came from the direction he was supposedly heading based on everything they found later.
Right.
It had started snowing like a foot within a couple hours. They never saw any tracks in the snow.
See, if it was a secret government program, they'd have been able to do that because of HARP. I'm just putting that out there that's a legitimate reason.
Maybe he was in the upside down.
Ooh, yes, he was.
Really?
Which is also a secret government program.
He went between the stones.
We got
people,
it.
I'm telling you. He went
I'm just telling you.
the fucking stones.
We get it, you idiots.
He's fucking Frazier.
What do y'all think? I mean, honestly,
I just said he's with Jamie Frazier.
I think it's a secret government program. I'm not bullshitting about that.
God.
I think that's legitimate.
Amber, what do you think?
She thinks it's alien. She already said.
Oh my God!
Don't judge me, Rusty.
Seriously, if I had to guess something, I'd say probably like aliens or something.
Yeah.
That shit's weird.
Yeah,
I think
it is really bizarre. I mean, and there's some that are more.
Yeah,
I guess you would say normal or pedestrian, but a lot of them have these weird circumstances related to them.
That they don't. There's like literally no trace. I mean, that's what gets me. I mean, like they were talking. Remember that one you were watching about the baby where they were talking about his little cowboy boots?
Oh yeah.
They fell off all the time. If somebody had picked him up, if an animal had snatched him, his boots would have fallen off. There was not a trace.
Nothing.
Just nothing.
And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw this, but at the end of it, and this has been going on. I mean, that's the thing. Like the girl from Devil's Den, that was 1946. Some of these, I mean, this is still happening today, right now. I mean, some of these were set
what is the farthest one
2017.
back that you've seen?
I know
He
I
actually
heard of some from the 1800s.
he stated that some of them go back to like the 1800s.
Yeah.
Early, mid, late 1800s.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That wasn't a yes or no question.
I don't know.
I'm
I
asking
just
it.
remember saying 1800s.
He said 1800s. He didn't really
So
give
he didn't
a
get
specific
any kind of
date.
okay.
But like I said, they're still happening to this day.
And I would guess that
The one she's talking about, the little kid with the boots, that was in 2015, I believe.
well, and I would guess that prior to the 1800s, they probably weren't keeping records of missing people.
I mean,
Well, and here's another.
I'm not saying that they didn't have recorded history,
right,
but it's
that-
probably
Here's
sparse, is what I'm saying.
here's something shady about your lovely government you keep referencing. They
It's not my government, it's everybody's government.
Not
my
secret
government.
programs you seem to love to talk about.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying
Government's
they're
shady as
secret.
hell, that's why.
They're secret. You can't talk about them.
National Park Service.
Uh-huh.
They have their own law enforcement entity.
Yeah.
we know
Okay, they have no record. They don't have any record of all the. You know, he went to them and said, "Okay, look, I'd like to try and get. I'm researching this book. Blah blah blah. I'm ex-law enforcement. Blah blah blah. I'd like to get this. We don't have any record of that. Really? You're a law enforcement entity,
So
and you
do
don't
they
have
go to
any
the-
record of all these people missing from your property.
You know what would
So
explain
do
that?
they go to the
aliens,
like city, county, state?
FBI.
Anybody have
They
those
don't
records?
have it because
Well, that's federal
the majority
land.
of the cases,
Yeah.
it's federal land.
So it'd have to be-
and the majority of the cases,
Yeah.
Parks tries to keep it in house as long as they can.
Yeah, and on federal property, that would be a federal jurisdiction, so it'd have to be FBI.
Actually, FBI. Okay, here's another thing. FBI will not investigate an adult missing case. Now, they do get involved if there's been some sort of crime committed that they know has been committed.
I see. Yeah.
They do get involved if it's children, but an adult missing case, they will not get involved. But in the last decade or so, at least decade or so, a lot of times during these search operations, there have been FBI agents show up that stay back and just take notes, collect information. They're not involved in the case now.
Because they want to know how much the locals are finding out about the top secret government
Yeah,
program.
apparently something. Well,
Men in Black.
like Brandy
Exactly.
said.
Well, Men in Gray.
Men in Black, yeah.
Men in navy blue is what it is.
Pinstripes. Yeah. Like Brandy, the kid with the boots.
Right.
They were actually invited to get involved by local police.
Oh, I would be
local
inviting
sheriff,
them every
whatever.
time.
Basically, they said, "Can y'all handle the forensics end of this?"
Why are you biting me?
Last known, the FBI came back.
Why are you still holding him?
Yeah, no shit.
I mean, he is like really.
Chunk him across
Hey.
the room.
Stop it.
Don't really.
He would
but
lay here and then he'll just start
I
biting.
wouldn't just let him bite me.
Because he's a cat and they're all crazy.
Yeah, no shit.
Put him
You
down.
can't
Put him
eat.
down. He's going to keep biting you. Holy shit.
So
you did
anyway,
it. I can't believe that.
Last known, the FBI has come back on that case, and it was.
Ew.
Oh my God. The FBI has come back on that case and said they have found nothing to implicate anybody that was at the campsite or anybody in the family.
That's because it
and
was...
so they will not be taking over the investigation or participating anymore. They did whatever forensics they had, and they were out of it.
Wow.
So
That seems like they were really quick to...
yeah,
get hands off,
this has
doesn't it?
been but I mean, this has been going on for several years. 2015. This has been going on for
yeah,
several
okay.
years.
So they
But-
probably were ready to
Yeah.
close that off.
The missing 111 hunted, the one about all the hunters, talking about the alien theory. There was a story in that documentary about this woman that had gone out to deer stand. I want to say like 5:45, 6 o'clock in the evening, late afternoon. She was half a mile.
Which her ass shouldn't have been out there anyway, because in November at 6 o'clock in the evening, it's dark, and that's
Well, it
poaching.
wasn't November. She was in a different state.
Yeah,
It was
Chris.
like September.
You know what
And
happens
so
when
it
you
was still
assume?
light. Yeah. So anyway, she was about half a mile from the high school, and she said, as a matter of fact,